members. I am going to read the statement of the chair at first. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act, RSBC 2015, to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters in a zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.112, 2019. Every person present who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaw. When speaking, please proceed to the microphone and commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If they wish, members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. In accordance with the council procedure bylaw, presentations by members of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. If a person has additional information that he is unable to provide within that time frame, he shall be given further opportunity to address council after all other interested members of the public have been heard for a first time. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion during this public hearing so that we may ensure as impartial a hearing as possible. After this public hearing is adjourned, council members will not speak to the public on this matter until after the matter has been dealt with at a public meeting. After this public hearing has concluded, council may without further notice give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. And the confirmation of advertising and posting requirements. Notice of this public hearing was given in accordance with the Local Government Act and the Community Charter by distributing the notice as follows. Publishing in 2 consecutive editions of the Osoyoos Times on June the 6th and June the 17th, 2019. Placing the notice on the public boards in the Town Office and Planning and Development Services Department on June 4th. Posting the notice on the town's website on June the 6th and distributed via e-news on June the 7th, 2019. So the summary of the staff report. Purpose of this meeting is to seek public input on zoning bylaw amendment number 1085.112, 2019, which received first and second reading on June the 3rd. Zoning amendment bylaw. It proposes to change the zoning from R1 single-family residential to R2 single-family residential small lot and R1 single-family residential to R3 low-density residential on property legally described as Lot A, District Lot 2450S, SDYD, Plan KAP 88583, except plans KAP 89313 and EPP 24123, Sawgrass Drive. So I'm now going to ask the Director of Planning to give her report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide information to Council and the public in respect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. The amending bylaw, if adopted, will allow for the creation of 1 new single-family R2 lot, a strata development consisting of 8 duplex lots. The proposed bylaw received first and second reading on June 3rd, 2019. So the property is located at the top of Dividend Ridge, and the property consists of a number of remainder parcels. These remainder parcels are the remnants of the Dividend Ridge development. And attachment number 3 to my report illustrates the proposed subdivision plan, which will be considered if the rezoning proposal is successful. Subdivision of these lands will result in a 1 hectare lot to accommodate the 16 residences or the 8 duplex units, a single family lot of 583 square meters, a single-family lot of 775 square meters, and a single-family lot of 1,000 square meters. And just so everyone's clear on this, the approving officer has the option to actually approve a subdivision to create all of these lots, regardless of whether or not the rezoning is proposed. So we would end up with these, still have these 4 lots. And then they would all remain as R1s. And the reason I make mention of that is because the R2 single-family lot that is being proposed is actually a remainder lot. And so under the Land Act, the approving officer has the option to approve a subdivision which results in one remainder being smaller than that previously approved in the zoning bylaw. However, we went this route so that it would be identified as a single-family residential small lot. So the policies in respect of this proposal are as follows. Under the official community plan, the current OCP designation on the subject property is low-density residential. In accordance with the residential policies, the OCP seeks to accommodate a range of densities throughout the community. The proposed development of strata duplex lots creates another variety of housing for our community. And so, again, so everybody understands that this is still considered low-density residential. Under the zoning bylaw, the property is currently zoned R1, single family, which would allow for subdivision in single-family residential lots. Should the rezoning proposal be successful, the applicant will be required to apply for a development permit for form and character for the strata development only. Now, with respect to procedures, as per the Town of Seuss Land Use Procedures, bylaw number 1235, 2007, rezoning application signage was placed on the subject property, and also the neighboring property owners were received notices by mail. Staff recommend the rezoning move forward as the proposed development will provide additional housing options for residents and will also infill an empty parcel. My apologies for that. Implications to the community: the proposed rezoning will enable a subdivision application to move forward, and development will provide for an alternative housing form for our community. Organizationally, the development proposal will again require a development permit. The applicant has provided an example of the form and character of the proposed duplex units, and town staff will work with the applicant to ensure the proposal meets the development permit guidelines as outlined in the OCP. There are no costs associated with this application or with this proposal to the town at this time. And again, the item would be placed on a future council agenda for consideration of third reading. And encouraging infill development is, of course, an important part of ensuring our community continues to develop in a sustainable fashion. We would then bring with this item forward to a future council meeting. Now, I'm not sure if council wanted me to explain this map to everybody at the same time, so we all understand.
Might be a good
Would
idea.
Would that be helpful?
Yes, thank you.
It would be best if I stood up.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Can I... So this red dotted line shows sort of the actual parent parcel, and then the solid areas are the areas that we're proposing to rezone. So this parcel is included in the parent parcel. It was like a leftover. So this would be a large 1,000 square meter lot, 10,000 square feet, roughly. This parcel here would become just another single-family lot like the neighboring properties. So this property here would form sort of a buffer between the existing lots and the proposed strata development. And then this little square or little triangle here is the smaller residential lot, which I think we could assume would probably be sold at maybe a smaller price than the other larger lot. So this is the parcel that would be is being proposed for the duplex development. Do you have any other questions, Mayor McCordoff, at this time?
Thank you. I think we'll listen to the public, and certainly if there's something at that time that you would like to answer, then you can. I'm going to ask for Mrs. Hilson for a list of anyone who would like to speak. Is there anybody who would like to speak that does not have their name on the list?
There's no names on the list currently.
There's none? Nobody wants to speak to this issue? Oh,
You have to pass it around and let everybody sign it first.
oh, it's been there the whole time, sorry. If-
Information helps.
Please sign it then before we start, and we will absolutely give you 5 minutes each to speak on this issue. I just want to point out that this is not a decision-making meeting. This is a meeting where we will listen. If there are things that we need to clarify, we will. If there is something that Ms. McKay would like to answer, she may. But that's really what this is for, to listen to any of you that might have concerns about or comments. I should point out that there are 2 letters that have been included in this, so I will not be reading them because they're included in the package. So one of the letters is from Bobby Fisher and Patty Head, and that is in there, and the other one is from Mike Dirksen. Okay, those are part of the package that was presented. Could I remind everyone, please, to put their phones on silent while we're in here? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we ready? Thank you. So the first person who could come up to the microphone is Patty Connolly. Thank you.
My name is Patty Connolly. I live at 11904 Golf Course Drive. The main reason we purchased our new home a month ago on Golf Course Drive, or Race Car Drive as we call it, is because it is the only community that is planned, consistent, and for the most part, single-family housing. We did not want to live in a community with different types of housing. We did not want to live in a hodgepodge, unplanned community. We bought where we did because of the predominance of single-family homes. This proposal will change the character of the community significantly. 19 new homes with 2 cars each will mean an additional 38 more cars barreling past our house. There's no 50-mile-an-hour sign on our street, and it is a noisy road currently. 19 new homes will add to the noise and traffic, impacting those who live adjacent to and on Golf Course Drive. Lastly, can the existing infrastructure support 19 new homes? Who's going to pay? Will it be the taxpayers via an increase to pay for additional water, sewage, roads, power, plus the ongoing maintenance and upkeep? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Gary Mitchell.
I'm at 12101 Gusta Lane, and that is the property that adjoins my lot that I'm presently building on, backs right onto this property. Now, I liked what Gina said there about a buffer lot at the R1 there. It seems to be an awful narrow lot if that's the actual size of the property and why it wasn't built as a wider lot. And if you're going to put a buffer, why not run a buffer behind the lots that are on that side so that you've got something to protect? There's an elevation change from my backyard to that property of about 12 feet. What I'm really concerned about is they're going to start messing around up there with equipment. And I figure, well, in a time frame, they're going to have to blast rock, because in my backyard it's a solid rock wall. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to move that without blasting it. And if their intent is to be above it and have these buildings above the property on that back property, we need to have some kind of a buffer in there just so that people aren't standing on their back deck peering into our backyards. Now, there's questions that I have. This is a Dividend Ridge property. Dividend Ridge had covenants on all the development that went on there. You had to have most likely tile roofs was part of the covenants. You had to have stucco was part of the covenants, or not stucco, but that style of finish on the house. Are these covenants going to be transferred into this property? Or when you guys rezone it, where does all these covenants go? These are what protected everybody in this subdivision, were these covenants that are on all of these buildings, so that you know that you're not living next to a tar paper shack.
Thank you. Ms. McKay, would you like to answer that, or would you like to I see you've noted it, so it's up to you.
I feel comfortable, thank you, Mayor McCordoff, actually speaking to it.
Okay, go ahead.
So there's building schemes registered on the other properties in a non-covenant. It's a building scheme. The reason we make that differentiation in the planning department is that a building scheme is something where a building proposal would have to go to the developer to have a review, and if they okay it, then we issue a building permit, versus a covenant, which the town would have to review. So obviously we hold our review of the form and character of buildings in our community in high regard, and would ensure that these in fact do meet our standards of ensuring. And we do actually have building scheme requirements in our high density or in our intensive density residential. This being duplex lots, we would also have a development permit requirement for it, and that would make sure that your building scheme is upheld. I'm not sure if Mr. Mitchell wants to speak to what their vision is for the area, but I would like to go back and speak to you with regards to your setbacks. Can you, Brianne, can you put this map up? Thank you. So I'm just going to point to a couple things on the map.
Okay.
So if you'll notice, this is the setback of the homes from the homes on the down below where you noted. You see how what the setback is on those particular homes, well above what's actually required under the zoning bylaw.
Is that the proposal? That would have been something nice to see beforehand.
It's in the report. And so this is the proposal, and you'll notice that when you get back to the back of the property, which is the crown land, that's where the road is, and there's a large setback on all of these lots. This is actually, this is the proposed single family. It's larger lot than is required under the zoning bylaw.
I'm never concerned about the ones for changing for single family.
Right.
Never had a concern for that. My concern is only where they're putting a duplex and how they're actually going to get up on that property.
Right.
And, are they building a road from off of the government property on the backside? Or
so the access to that road will be as it would be if they were building it as single-family lots under the current zoning. So regardless of whether it was duplex or not, the access, the legal access is from Sawgrass.
Okay, so you're coming up Sawgrass here.
And it would be that way if it was under the current zoning or under the proposed zoning. That is the legal access to those lots.
Okay, now there's grade. Like, in other words, when you build the road, you got to have certain grades. Are they going to be? Are they getting are they going to change that, or are they going to stick?
They meet the requirements under subdivision control and servicing bylaw.
So they're going to stick to the grades that are built.
That are required under our bylaw.
Okay, but I still don't see, you're showing setbacks there for. Which direction?
So I appreciate your concern and your questions, and if you have questions with respect to how the development might proceed, I'm happy to answer those for you outside of this process, but it is a land use question at this time, I think.
So
okay,
again, excuse me, Mr. Mitchell, it would be appropriate for you to go and visit her, and we will let other people talk at this point.
Enough.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please go in and see her if you have concerns. Next person is Thomas Martin.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Martin. I live at 11704 Olympic View Drive. probably a couple of 100 meters from the site that is under discussion here. And I haven't walked it off to find out exactly how far away I am, because there is nice single-family houses in the way. And that's my concern. I am a real property administrator by designation. I studied for 3 years at the university level to acquire that designation, and I managed millions of square feet of property. And among other things, during my studies, I took an appraisal and property valuation course. I have a fear, a concern that this kind of development in adjacency to the existing houses, the single family on large lots, is going to depreciate the value of those properties. I also have a concern with respect to the consistency, the covenants that Mr. Mitchell, who previously spoke, mentioned. There were covenants required of us when we built in 1999 that included the kind of stucco, the color of stucco, the kind of roof tile that might be used, the size of the house, the minimum size of the house. And I'm on a property of 13,000 plus square feet. I don't want to see higher density housing. I think this bylaw is faulty, or the proposed changes to the zoning is faulty, and I'm concerned for not only my own property values, but those of the people that are in closer proximity to these proposed developments. That's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bobby Fisher?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Bobby Fisher. I live at 3623 Sawgrass Drive. I am presently at the top of Sawgrass Drive, adjacent to the proposed rezoning. My first question's already been answered. I believe that the area that was in the red line but wasn't colored in red, you're saying is still R1.
That's correct.
So there will be a regular
That's
house.
correct.
Okay. And I have, of course, sent you 12 questions, which I won't go through now because it sounds like I should talk to you. Not,
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But I am concerned about, if this is a strata, is it going to be gated? And is there? And I was concerned about the road. If Sawgrass is the only access and egress from that rezoned property, I was hoping that there might be kind of a circle road where you didn't have to have double the traffic. It could be shared with Fairwinds or some other road.
Just for clarity, there is no other way to access the property because that is Crown land.
Yeah.
I did speak with the applicant today, and they are willing to speak with the Crown about access through the back over the gate, over the cattle guard, for construction purposes. But the primary access to the property is as per the legal access right now to the property, which is Sawgrass.
So they are going to try to have big, heavy trucks come over the cattle guard at least some of the time, rather than right across my backyard.
So they're going to speak to the Crown about a possibility to ask them for access through that during construction. That's all I can say to that, because I don't know what the Crown will say of that. But
And about the gatedness of the
it will not be gated.
Not gated.
That's correct.
Okay. And it won't be like an Airbnb. Will it be for seasonal use? Or
That's not permitted under zoning bylaw as it sits right now.
Okay. Okay. Is there any timeline for site preparation that you can share with us?
Not at this time.
Okay. And will there be any blasting allowed?
Likely blasting is allowed for developments. I mean, just so that people also understand that a lot of the questions that you have are questions that we take care of during the permitting process for earthworks and that sort of thing. So times that people are allowed to blast, those kind of thing, are all taken into consideration. We issue permits for earthworks.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, just to make it clear, this is a zoning amendment bylaw only, not a building, and that would come at the next stage.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. And I have Dave Collin. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Dave Cullen with CTQ Consultants, and we're the engineers of record for the project. And I'm the engineer that's overseeing the development of the plans to date. And we're the ones that have put forward on the owner's behalf the rezoning application. And I just wanted to be here that if there was any specific questions that Mayor or Council would have, that I could assist I'd be more than happy to. I took notes from the public that had spoken. There wasn't real. It's pretty consistent whether it's duplex or single family. These would be high-end duplexes. We think that these would probably end up being a higher dollar per square foot value than the single family homes because of the nature of the duplexes. So we don't feel that there would be any market change to the neighborhood by adding these types of townhomes. The road, the property will be a strata road, but it's not going to be a gated strata. So the maintenance of the road, there was one concern over who's going to take care of the road. The road's going to be maintained by the development. So there won't be any additional cost onto the municipality. If there is any blasting, we have looked at the site and looked at the cuts and fills and the road grades, and so we've done an initial layout to prove that this plan is workable. We've had a geotechnical assessment completed. If there is any blasting, that'll all be covered under the town's bylaws that will ensure that there's mats placed, all of the standard procedures for any of the road construction, and we will really endeavor to use the Crown land to provide the construction access.
So, Councillor King, do you have a question?
Mayor. I just wanted clarity when you mentioned about you'll look after the road. I understand you'd more likely build the road to start with, but after, say, if this got moved forward,
well, if
propose to keep.
If it became a strata, so that can happen. The likelihood, because of the nature of this type of project, the likelihood is it would be a strata, and then it would be a private road. It could be done as a public road, but the likelihood is that we would do it as a strata road.
Okay, and I'll ask, where would the strata kick in compared to the town road?
The strata would start if we go back to the plan that showed the rezoning, the strata would start basically the start of the red triangle. So the first single-family home would be on public right-of-way, and the public right-of-way would adjust as part of the subdivision, and it would extend right to the edge of the large parcel.
So I appreciate the fact that you've been taking notes while you've been listening to the concerns of the neighbors, because that's very important to address those and to make sure that people have a comfort level with how it's proceeding. We also know that there are several other parts to this after, if the rezoning goes through, that you would be dealing with Ms. McKay on to make sure that all of these issues are dealt with.
Yes, we've done quite a bit of that already, just for the comfort of Ms. McKay. We didn't want to come with a plan and then
Have to start.
get into it afterwards and go, well, we can. So we're very confident that this is a buildable plan. We've got the setbacks all addressed. We've got the geotechnical considerations. So we're very confident that this is a plan that would easily fit into the existing neighborhood.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of council? Well, thank you very much, Mr. Cullen.
Thank you.
That is the end of the list that I have here. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this zoning amendment bylaw? I'll ask, do I have to ask 3 times? Yeah. For the second time. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? And for the 3rd time, is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this?
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Ms. McKay, since this is really zoned single family, if this didn't go forward, you could still build 8 houses up there?
Thank you, Councillor King, at least.
Okay.
Okay.
Many more.
Okay, say maybe
Many
10.
more in there? Okay.
Definitely more than 8, but anyway.
Okay, just
Okay.
throw a number out there.
It could definitely be developed.
Yeah, I understand that. So
Thank
it
you.
is zoned single.
Okay, so I see that there's no more information being required, and therefore I will declare that this public hearing is closed. Thank you very much, and we will, if